The board will now come to order. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Schweitzer. Alderman Odenberg.
Present.
Alderman Cone. Alderman Narayan. Alderman Devoti. Alderwoman Velasquez. Alderwoman Saunier.
Present.
Alderman Browning. Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. Alderwoman Keys. Alderwoman Tyus. Alderwoman Boyd.
Present.
Could you turn on your camera, please?
I am.
Alderman Aldridge. Alderman Cone.
Present.
I'm sorry, President Green.
Present.
Alderman Cone.
Present.
Alderwoman Velasquez. Alderwoman Keys. Alderwoman Boyd. We have 10 present. We have a quorum.
A quorum being present, we will be led in opening reflection by the Director of Storytelling and Communication at Ford through Ferguson, Jialian Yang.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. One summer when I was little, my family found a baby bird that had fallen out of its nest. We kept it inside during the heat of the day and brought it outside for its mama to feed each evening. I named it Chi-Chi for the noises it made and would play with it by tossing it up in the air and teaching it how to fly. Now one day, Chi-Chi drifted over the fence into my neighbor's yard. I was too scared to knock on my neighbor's door and too worried about getting in trouble. So I lied and told my parents that Chi-Chi finally learned how to fly. I wonder how things might have been different if we had known our neighbors better. We knew our neighbors next door, but we didn't know the neighbors who shared the fence in our backyard. They lived so close, but the fence felt so high, and the walk to confront those strangers felt so scary and far. That same fear of the other has built fences and shamo pots, good neighborhoods and bad neighborhoods, freeways and highways, border walls and checkpoints, jails and prisons, detention facilities and internment camps. These man-made boundaries tell us where to belong, who we can trust, and how to define home. Conveniently, they also give us the maps for school funding, healthcare, air pollution, radioactive waste, police training grounds, and chemical weapons manufacturing. We say that all of this is for our safety. Birds know nothing about fences or border walls. They fly anyway. On spring nights in the US, up to 500 million birds are migrating. 15,000 will likely fly over St. Louis City tonight. Last May, I saw a dead bird on my way to work. I never seen anything like it. It was brown with a bright yellow bill, a white chest, and a black tail with white spots. It was a yellow-billed cuckoo that was migrating from Central or South America. It was merely crossing over, but met its end here in Missouri. St. Louis residents are dying early too, from traffic violence, asthma, malnutrition, the lack of 24-hour walk-in shelters, and safe, affordable housing, incarceration, police killings, and now a partnership between SLMPD and ICE. We must remember Brian Garçon Rio and understand that migration is a human right. Even the United Nations has named it as such. What if we knew and loved our neighbors, not just the ones next door, but also the ones behind the fences, borders, and cages? What if we cared for them as a mama bird nurtures its babies, returning over and over to help them become strong and free? What if we tried our very best to help all of our neighbors live well and grow old? What songs might we hear then?
We will dispense with line item 4, any introduction of honored guests. Any introduction of honored guests. Alderman from the 9th.
Thank you. I would like to have as my honored guest today my wife, Sarah. She's up in the gallery, and it is also her birthday, so happy birthday, sweet. I also have a second honored guest, and that is anyone who biked to work today, because it is Bike to Work today, and those of you who braved our streets and stood up for everyone's right to get to work, no matter how they choose to travel. We really appreciate everyone who came out and joined us on our bike bus to City Hall today. Shout out to CP2 as well as TrailNet and oh gosh, there's just dozens of organizations I could thank, but I want to thank everyone that supported us on our ride and encourage everyone to just try getting on a bike this weekend. Thank you.
Alderwoman from the 12th.
And members of the board. First of all, I'd like to say something joyous. My special guest is Mr. Jim Suleman, who I served with many, many years as the street director, and he's come back temporarily. I got a chance to talk to him. We joked about when he retired, and we gave him a going away resolution from here and how he said he was never going to come back, but here he is back. But also to thank him for the years that I was the chair of Streets, Traffic, and Refuse. We wrote an entire report about that, doing the blue carts and the blue dumpsters for recycling in the alley was not working. And all you got was a lot of dirty recycling. And we wrote a letter to the mayor, responded, we brought her staff saying this does not work. I had as many conversations as I could. And I'm a recyclist. I actually used to pay, before we had recycling with the city, I would pay money. We had a private company that would come to the front of your house and you had a blue bin, because I still believe in recycling. Even though I knew the city was not recycling, I still take my paper off of my bottles, and I'm really fastidious about it because I do believe in it. But it was not working, and I want to thank the new administration and Mr. Suleman for coming out and saying we're going to stop that. I would encourage them to offer recycling to individuals who want to do it. That was what our committee's recommendation was. And it will work. I will pay for it, and the people who are committed will pay for it. I know you can take it to stations, but if we could still use those blue rollout carts or some other system or private system to encourage individual recycling, I think that what we do would be wonderful, and I'm really happy to work with Mr. Suleman again. He knows the street department backwards and forward. I think that we are very lucky to have him come back for the time period that he will. So I want to welcome him back for his limited time. But I also feel really sad today because I learned last night that my friend at the Board of Aldermen, the person I sat by for 20-something years, the person who trained me, the person who stood up for me against his own son when his son was the mayor, when we fought about TIF, and that's Alderman Freeman Bosley, passed away last night. If I ever had a political soulmate, he was one of them. He was true to his word. He was crafty. You had to watch him at all times. Sometimes we had to lean together, and I'd say, Freeman, you better not double-cross me. He'd say, Alder lady, I would never double-cross you because you're just like me. I took that as a compliment. I grew up with his children, Alderman Bosley and State Representative Lakeisha Bosley, running around the chambers and in my office. I loved him dearly. I was fortunate enough. He had a 90th birthday party. I was able to attend that. I'm just overwhelmed with sadness. I feel like I lost not only a partner, but a parent, somebody who cared about this city greatly, was a cohort about smoking, introduced legislation about preventing smoking in the city, helped fight those kind of things, introduced legislation about having bathrooms and gas stations, things that you take for granted now that we didn't used to have. Just was a fighter, cared about the community, cared about Hyde Park and the other communities that he represented, and an all-around great statesman that had great great stories to tell. My new LA, Mr. Palm, actually worked for Mayor Harmon, and I have to say that even though Mayor Harmon beat Mayor Bosley, Alderman Bosley was nothing but welcoming to Mr. Palm in his role, and we all had great relationships, and he will be greatly missed. And I want to kind of be quiet for a minute because I'm going to ask for a moment of silence if other people don't have anything to say for him, but I do believe other people do have things to say, so I don't want that to happen because I don't want to cut off debate, but I just want to say he will be greatly missed.
I'll go ahead and take any other comments on the passing of Alderman Bosley Sr., and then we'll do our moment of silence. Alderwoman from the 11th.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I, too, have been a great friend of the Bosley family and had great experiences in conversations with the elder Bosley. This man truly has impacted our city. Our city is a little cleaner today because I remember when he brought legislation to get rid of the 40-ounce glass bottles that were being broken and just trashed everywhere throughout our city. His legislation did that. He spearheaded the efforts in my ward for O'Fallon Park and the boathouse. And I'm sure all of us could go through a litany of great things over the lifespan of this great man in our city. And I do also want to ask for a moment of silence for the sister of Lucinda Frazier. So this family has been hit by a double whammy within probably 12 hours of each other. Freeman passed, and then her sister passed this morning. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Alderwoman from the 13th.
Thank you, Madam President and the board. I wanted to send my condolences to the family, but I wanted to make sure that people understood that Freeman Bosley Sr. leaves a legacy of people that's in his family that had an impact on our city. So from him, and we have Brandon Bosley, who we worked with, and he educated, open eyes to Alderwoman Tyus and us on things that we never thought that we would accept and go along with. But it was because of his teaching from his dad that he taught him to have an open mind. And then Lakeisha Bosley, who fights hard up in Jefferson City. So again, I would like to support what my colleagues are saying, and then if we could have a moment of silence.
Alderwoman from the 12th.
I don't want her to forget the first black mayor, Freeman Bosley Jr., as we didn't say him, and I don't want that to be left out because that was a direct result of his dad running for mayor and then him becoming the mayor.
If we could please bow our heads for a moment of silence. Any further introduction of honored guests? Any further introduction of honored guests? Seeing none, Alderwoman from the 10th, you're recognized on the approval of the minutes from Friday, May 9th, 2025.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I move that we approve the minutes from Friday, May 9th, 2025.
Been moved by the Alderwoman from the 10th, seconded by the Alderman from the 3rd, that we approve the minutes from Friday, May 9th, 2025. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Report of city officials.
We have none.
We can dispense with line items 7 through 11. First reading of board bills.
Board Bill 16, sponsored by Alderman Devoti, pursuant to ordinance number 7033. I'm sorry. Yeah, okay, I'm sorry.
Correct.
Pursuant to ordinance number 70333 as amended by ordinance number 71394, an ordinance directing the Director of Streets to install speed humps to calm the flow of traffic on various blocks in the 5th Ward. Board Bill 17, sponsored by Alderman Cone, An ordinance recommended and approved by the Airport Commission and the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, authorizing the Director of the Comptroller and Mayor with the recommendation of the Director of Streets to accept, enter into, and execute on behalf of the city grants agreements offered by the state of Missouri for the furtherance of programs and operations at the St. Louis Lambert International Airport, containing the severability clause. Board Bill 18, sponsored by Alderwoman Velazquez, an ordinance amending ordinance number 71835 to codify interior requirements for residential rentals by striking out all mentions of Exhibit A and inserting a new section named Interiors of Buildings that replicates the contents of Exhibit A and provides additional specifications related to occupancy load. Board Bill 19, sponsored by Alderman Aldridge, an ordinance improving the petition of owner and certain real properties to establish a community improvement districts containing an emergency clause and containing a severability clause. Board Bill 20, sponsored by Alderwoman Keys, an ordinance authorizing the honorary street name Pestalo Way pursuant to ordinance number 68937, which shall begin at the intersection of Laclede Avenue and Vanderbilt Avenue and run east on Laclede Avenue to the intersection of Laclede and Grand Boulevard. That's the extent of the first reading of board bills.
Madam Clerk, if you could please add me as a co-sponsor to board bills.
So noted.
Reference to committee of board bills.
To Public Infrastructure and Utilities Committee, Board Bill 16 and 20. To Transportation and Commerce, Board Bill 17. To HUD's, Board Bill 18 and 19. That's the extent of the reference to committee.
Second reading report of standing committees.
Reported out of Public Infrastructure and Utilities with a due pass recommendation, Board Bill 3, sponsored by Alderwoman Schweitzer, pursuant to ordinance number 70333 as amended by ordinance number 71394, an ordinance directing the Director of Streets to install speed humps to calm the flow of traffic on the 6600 block of Vermont Avenue in the 4th Ward. Board Bill 6, sponsored by Alderwoman Saunier, an ordinance pertaining to parking in the Gate District neighborhood within the Vista Avenue Residential Parking District, which establishes the location and restrictions for curb parking in the restricted parking zone district established by this ordinance, authorizing the placement of permit parking only signs within the district and prohibiting the parking within the district of any vehicle which does not contain the authorized permit containing definitions and a penalty clause. Board Bill 7, sponsored by Alderwoman Clark Hubbard, an ordinance directing the Director of Streets to install speed humps pursuant to ordinance number 70333 as amended by ordinance number 71394 to calm the flow of traffic on the 400 block of Laurel, 4500 block of Newberry Terrace, the 5100 block of Cates, and the 5100 block of Cabanee Avenue. Reported out of the Human and Health Development, the due pass recommendation, Board Bill 8, sponsored by Alderwoman Clark Hubbard, with co-sponsors Alderman Ryan, Alderwoman Saunier, and Alderwoman Boyd. An ordinance recommended by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment and the Board of Public Service, providing for the execution and delivery of an extension agreement substantially in the form attached hereto as Exhibit 1 by and between the City of St. Louis and Forest Park Arcs, LLC, extending the term and amended and restated lease agreement dated August 31st, 2000, by and between the city and the lessee's successor name changed to CNL Income Eagle Leasehold Golf LLC, assigned and containing non-discrimination language to the 2000 lease and containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 9, sponsored by Alderwoman Clark Hubbard, with co-sponsors Alderman Ryan, Alderwoman Saunier, Alderwoman Keys, and Alderwoman Boyd. An ordinance recommended by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment and the Public Service, providing for the execution and delivery of an extension agreement substantially in the form attached hereto as Exhibit 1 by and between the City of St. Louis and Evergreen Alliance Golf Limited LP, a Delaware Limited Partnership lessee, extending the term of the amended, restated, and extended lease agreement dated August 18, 2008, by and between the city and lessee, and adding certain non-discrimination language in the 2008 lease and containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 11, sponsored by Alderwoman Boyd, an ordinance recommended by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, appropriating to the Department of Health funds received by the City of St. Louis pursuant to national opioid settlement agreements, authorizing the expenditure of such funds to the extent received, authorizing contracts and other documents to expend such funds to the extent received, and contain an emergency clause. Board Bill 12, sponsored by Alderwoman Boyd, an ordinance recommended by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, authorizing the Department of Health to local public health agency accreditation access grant of up to $239,890 from the Missouri Department of Health and Senior Services, appropriating such funds to the Department of Health, authorizing the expenditure of such funds to fulfill the obligations of said grant to the extent such funds are received, authorizing contracts and other documents to expend such funds to the extent received, and contain that emergency clause. That's the extent of second reading and report of standing committees.
Report of special committees.
We have none.
Can dispense with line item 15. Board bills for perfection consent.
We have none.
Can dispense with line item 16. Board bills for perfection.
We have none.
Can dispense with line item 17. Report of engrossment.
We have none.
We can dispense with line item 18. Third reading and final passage of board bills consent.
We have none.
We can dispense with line item 19. Third reading and final passage of board bills.
We have none.
We can dispense with line item 20. Reported the finally passed and signed by the President.
We have none.
We can dispense with line item 21. First reading of resolutions in reference to committees.
We have none.
We can dispense with line item 22. Second reading resolutions, committee reports, and adoption.
We have none.
We can dispense with line item 23. Alderwoman from the 10th, you are recognized on the adoption of the courtesy resolution consent calendar.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I move that we adopt the courtesy resolutions consent calendar.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 10th, seconded by the Alderman from the 14th, that we adopt the courtesy resolution consent calendar. Is there any discussion? Alderman from the 4th.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I request to be added as a co-sponsor to Resolution 17, honoring Mr. T-Dub-O.
So noted.
That it's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 10th, seconded by the Alderman from the 14th, that we adopt the courtesy resolution consent calendar. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Miscellaneous and unfinished business.
We have none.
Announcements.
Saturday, May 17th, 2025, Budget and Public Employees will have a meeting at the Thomas Dunn Center at 10 a.m. Monday, May 19th, Budget and Public Employees will have a meeting at 9 a.m. in the Kennedy Room. Tuesday, May 20th, Budget and Public Employees will have a meeting in the Kennedy Room at 9:30. Wednesday, May 21st, 2025, Budget and Public Employees will have a meeting in the Kennedy Room at 9:30. Personnel Committee has a meeting via webinar at 3 o'clock. Thursday, May 22nd, full board meeting in the chambers at 10 a.m.
Are there any further announcements? Alderwoman from the 13th.
Thank you, Madam President and the board. I'd like to put out this gentle reminder that downtown will be crazy this Sunday because Annie Malone will invade the downtown area. And so we're looking forward for all the people to come out to support us and have a great time. And then I want to publicly thank Alderman Oldenburg and Alderwoman Sonnier because we connected to make the health committee meeting happen. So thank you all so much. And thank you, Rosalind, because you all really work together as a team. So thank you all.
Any further announcements? Alderwoman from the 11th.
Thank you, Madam President. Just would like to announce that the elevated 11th Ward will have a ward meeting tomorrow, Saturday, May 17th, at 10 a.m. at the Wesley House. We look forward to seeing residents there. Thank you.
Alderwoman from the 6th.
Thank you, Madam President. We will have a 6th Ward Town Hall / Missouri Legislature wrap-up on Tuesday, May 20th from 6 to 8 p.m. at Power Creative. That's at 3221 Oak Hill Avenue. We'll have Representative Marty Jo Murray, Representative Bosley, Representative Fuchs, and Senator Roberts talking about the past legislative session and what we can do to engage people.
Any further announcements? Alderman from the 14th. Okay. Alderwoman from the 7th.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. There are a lot of announcements. Firstly, there is a neighborhood cleanup in the Botanical Heights area tomorrow at 9 a.m. I won't be able to make it, unfortunately, because I'll be present for what I'm sure the Alderman from the 14th is going to announce. But also tomorrow at My Marie's, we are having an event to celebrate the Haitian Flag Day. My Marie's is a business that is on Cherokee Street that specializes in Haitian and soul food. And so they're just having an event, and I want to make sure that I announce that. There's obviously a difficult time for a lot of folks who are part of that community right now, and so they're just having an event to celebrate their heritage that day. Thank you.
Alderman from the 14th.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. Sorry about that. First, I would like to announce, even though the clerk announced it, really want to get it out there so all the folks can please tell their constituents tomorrow at 10 a.m. Again, as the clerk said, we're having our second public testimony on the FY26 budget. We'll be meeting at the Thomas Dunn Learning Center, which is 3113 off of Gasconade Street, which is in the fabulous 3rd Ward. This is 2 out of 4 public meetings that we're having to make sure that the community can weigh in on the FY26 budget, as well as today from 5 to 10 p.m. we will be having a city social off of between 14th and Tucker off of Washington. The street will be blocked off. It'll be a good time. It'll be plenty of music, plenty of live entertainment for people to come on out. And then also want to echo and want to thank Alderwoman from the 13th Ward, Alderwoman Boyd, for her hard work and commitment with the Annie Malone Parade. I know she sits on the board, and they have continuously made sure that this parade happens, the longest African-American parade that there is throughout the country. So I just want to thank Alderwoman Boyd, everyone who sits on the board of Annie Malone, and to remind folks to come on downtown to the Annie Malone Parade on Sunday. Thank you.
Any further announcements? Alderman from the 3rd.
Thank you, Madam President. I wish I could go to the Annie Malone Parade. Fortunately, I have a nephew who's graduating Sunday afternoon. So sending all my love and support to friends and colleagues that'll be supporting Annie Malone. It's an amazing organization. I have a bittersweet announcement. One, I was remiss in wishing Sean Stokes a happy birthday last week, and want to make sure that I acknowledge him turning another year in the calendar. And also, some of you may know this already, but Sean has also accepted a position in the mayor's office. So I'd like to wish him well in his new journey, and very excited for his new adventure there. I have really enjoyed working with you over the last few years, year and a half, 2 years now, and I am super excited for you. So congratulations. And the alderman already stole my thunder for the budget hearing tomorrow that's taking place in the thriving 3rd Ward. So hopefully some folks can show up and attend there as well. And that is the rest of my announcements. Thank you.
Any further announcements? Further announcements? Seeing none, Alderwoman from the 10th, you're recognized on the motion to excuse.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. All members are present this morning.
Alderwoman from the 10th, you're recognized on the motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I move that we adjourn until Thursday, May 23rd, 2025, in the Alderman chamber.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 10th, seconded by the Alderman from the 3rd, that we adjourn until Thursday, May 2nd, 2025 in the Board of Aldermen chambers at 10 a.m. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned.